Hey, don't forget the best way to watch out for the shark is to like and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell with the all indication so you don't miss a single episode. And don't forget to tell your friends because, you know, they want to watch out for the shark too. Hey there, YouTubers, it's the shark. All right, well, we're going to start breaking down some of the components that came out of that great big server that I brought home. Now, this part here was at the top of all of the racks, and I think this is just the power assembly. It says power supply on one side, main terminal, it's got plugs on it, terminal enable. So I'm thinking this is just the main power unit, but let's go ahead and dig in and find out for sure. I can already tell there's some value here because this board here, these tiny little yellow things are all tantalum capacitors. So a little bit older style, but I can tell they're tantalum capacitors. Plus there's very robust gold-plated pins along that connector there. So this board here is already going to be some pretty good value for us. Let's start getting in and see what the rest of this offers. Now, instead of my usual empty can for the small stuff, I'm using a box, a metal box that came with all that scrap stuff. So this box here, it had some circuit boards in it itself. It was a door security alarm panel thing. So that makes a nice container. So this is all steel. Correction, this is all aluminum. Yep, aluminum. Aluminum. Make sure you check. That was weird. Okay, so that's all aluminum. That's going to be nice. Aluminum price start to come up. I'm going to be all set because I got plenty of this. All right, let's see what we got here. So this just switches, we'll pull that out, get that stuff off, clean that up. This is a big power supply. That's what's going to be inside there. We'll get into that in a minute. So there's the board I was telling you about. These are all tantalum capacitors. There's some nice ICs on here. Nice heavy gold-plated pins there. And then on the back side we have a MOSFET probably with aluminum heatsink. Plus these are not gold-plated pins on the back here. So there's a board with some relatively good value to it. thought this was a separate plate. Now is that aluminum? Like, that's all aluminum. Nice big sheet of aluminum there. Alright, and so inside here we have a lot of insulated copper wire, great big capacitor, some sort of switch that I have to look into. And then there's a tiny little board here with some more tantalum, so I'm going to pull that out and let you take a look at that. Alright, so aluminum again, and this board here, some big caps here, no big deal there, but some nice tantalum capacitors on here, another nice MOSFET, some nice ICs, not gold plated, very lightly gold plated, and nothing on the back of it. So nice little board there to pull off and do some depopulating, and then the aluminum, of course, this has to come off, and there's not much on the back of it. So. Alright, and then the rest of this, there's a typical plug, nice heavy gauge copper wire inside of there, but it's wound, not solid core, so insulated copper wire. A lot of insulated copper wire in here in your time. Let's look at this power supply. This should be kind of interesting. Beautiful day here in Florida this morning. Last night we had a thunderstorm roll through. So Lulu, our puppy, well, puppy, a 5-year-old puppy, tried to climb up in the bed with us. So we spent the night taking care of her because she doesn't like thunderstorms. Alright, so we got to get these off of here, but otherwise that's aluminum. Alright, so got cage, which is also aluminum cage, and that's over top of a big knocking power board. So I don't know if you can see the copper windings on this transformer, but those are some serious copper windings. That might even go as bare bright when I get that out of there. So that's definitely coming off. Another transformer here that I'll take a look at, see if I want to get that out. Aluminum heat sinks with some great big FETs. Two more transformers there. There's a little bit smaller, so I might leave them on so that there's weight on this board. This is aluminum, so we'll let's go ahead and see. It looks like I can detach the board. Let's see if the whole board will fall off of this piece of aluminum. There we are. Just needed a little convincing, apparently. Alright, so big heavy power board there, and this is, I'm assuming, aluminum. Yep, that's aluminum. Got to get that ferrous hardware is going to have to come off. And a lot of times with this kind of ferrous hardware connections, You can take a punch and just punch them out. You can also just take your hammer and hit it from this side and punch it out. Put this clean. So, in addition to the big heavy copper that's in here, you can get a little better view now of the copper here in this transformer. Nice heavy grade. I think that's going to be bare bright when I open it up. I'll check the gauge on it. And there's a nice big copper transformer, two more that I'm pretty sure would also be copper transformers. Aluminum heatsink over a great big fat looking device. But I found this was interesting too. When I pulled off this copper wire, look, it's really just copper. It's copper that has this fiber sheathing on it, but it is just copper. So probably just number 2. I don't think that'll go as bare bright, that kind of thin gauge, but wow, that was pretty nice, because that's really easy to just pull that right out like that. That's the solder coating on it. So yeah, that's well, that solder coating makes it number 2 right away. So then we got trash here, but nice, real nice power board. Heavy power board there. So once I take off a couple of these big transformers and this aluminum heatsink, this is still going to be a nice heavy low grade board. All right, let's see what else we can bring out and mess around with today. All right, so this came out of that server. All right, now there were 3 of these racks inside of that server tower. This is the least populated of the 3. The other 2 are chock-a-block. All the bays are filled with boards. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these boards out, because these are I'm pretty sure that these are similar to the other boards, but I'll compare them. Anyway, I just thought I'd go ahead and get this one depopulated. Now the nice thing about these kind of server racks is the boards come out really easy. They're designed to do that on purpose. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just in case anybody wasn't aware, there you go. They're designed to slide right out, because they don't want the servers to be down long, so they want them to be switch, quick interchange kind of thing. This is kind of an older style board. There's some EEPROMs, socket mounted EEPROMs, socket mounted ICs, more socket mount, lots of socket mounted ICs. I'm sure that's probably another EEPROM that's just covered up. We've got tantalum capacitors all over the place, and these are the button style, the drop style. So lots of tantalum capacitors all over this. A top hat style crystal oscillator, dip switches that tend to have either gold or silver inside of them, jumpers, but those pins are not gold, so those jumpers will not be gold. Let's see, we've got a little copper spool here, no big deal there. We've got an aluminum heatsink there on a FET. We've got some nice heavy gold fingers, and then on the back side, nothing, so that doesn't surprise me. All right, so the challenge for me is going to be to decide whether or not I'm going to depopulate this board or sell it as is to board sort. Now I'm sure I could take off a bunch of these tantalum capacitors and they probably wouldn't care, because I think the big thing that they're after are going to be the ICs. So in any event, when you work with board sort, what I've learned now is you send them a picture of the stuff, they tell you what they're going to, and you tell them what you think it is, they'll confirm it, and then you get your price quote, and so you're good to go. So I'm gonna have to think about what I want to do with this board. All right, so let's see what other boards we've got. Okay, this one is exactly like the one I just pulled out. Looks like these first few boards are all identical. Yep, these are all identical. These have different colored tabs, so I'm thinking these are different, and sure enough, These are very different. So let's see what we got going here. Battery has to come off. ICs, socket mounted ICs. That's got a little cover on it, so that might be an EEPROM. That's a really big IC there. Socket mounted. These are all socket mounted ICs. There's a socket mounted flat pack. Big crystal oscillator. A top hat crystal oscillator. Another top hat crystal oscillator. Some tantalum capacitors. Aluminum heatsink, FET. Another copper spool there. This says power 4011 power converter. Alright, power converter. More FETs. Lots of ICs. Gold fingers, of course. And those gold fingers are double-sided. So again, we've got a really interesting board here that will challenge me to decide, am I going to keep this board as is and sell it to Board Sort for top dollar, or am I going to depopulate and get a little bit less money for it? This board is identical to the one that I just took out. Now this case is steel. Alright, so that's all steel. And then we've got a backplane board in here. So let's figure out how that backplane board comes out. I'm hoping that it's just some screws. And that's what it looks like, just a bunch of screws. So there's the backplane board. We've got a nice big crystal oscillator inside there. Let's go ahead and get that one out right away. Aluminum heatsink. Nice aluminum heatsink there. Big oscillator type there. And let's check these screws and see if these are stainless or... Yeah, those are stainless, so I'm going to gather those up and put them in with the stainless bucket. The backplane board, each one of these is very heavily plated gold inside of there. But it's difficult to get at those. I've tried to get at those before. So my plan is I'm going to sell this to Board Sort. They buy backplanes. They have a special category for them. So this will probably just go to Board Sort. If I don't end up with enough of them to make the weight worth shipping, because this is an odd size. I don't know if this is going to fit in a flat pack. In one of the Postal Service flat packs. My yard will take it as a low grade board. So that's no big deal. Oh, and look, there's a little tantalum capacitor, so we'll probably pop that off. Alright, so that's the backplane board. And then the rest of this is just steel, and it is heavy, as you might imagine. So I'm not even going to bother. These are not screws, these are rivets. So I'm just going to leave this the way it is. Maybe chuck some small stuff inside here, but this will go to the yard just as shred.